Okay. Very nice to meet everyone here. And we're from TikTok. And I'm Zhongjun. I'm leading the localization department at TikTok.
Oh, I'm Phil. I'm the tech lead for design system and accessibility.
And then hi, I'm Frank. I'm a software engineer for the web infra team.
Yeah, so we'd love to present to the audience about this project we carried out in the past few years. Like we want to make sure the localization comes without gaps because we have built end-to-end I18n solutions internally. And maybe we can take a look at what TikTok is and what we built. Like maybe all of you know that TikTok is a social platform, and our mission is to inspire creativity and bring joy to the global users. And we are one of the most downloaded apps globally, and accessible in 150 countries and regions. And also, we support 56 languages in total. And actually, what we built is part of the TikTok design system, and that includes SDKs supporting all TikTok locales and 200 plus CLDR locales. And we have built the real business needs embedded into the SDKs. And the first SDK is a date format SDK, and which includes which processes date, time, and the relative time, and also time range. And also the next one is a digit format SDK. First, it processes number formats. For example, general numbers, and also the big numbers, and also percentages, and also ranges. And for the digit format SDK, it also supports currency formats. So you can see all the different formats here. Also, we have built a demo site, which is for the product managers and designers and everyone who wants to learn what a format looks like in different languages. And also, we have built in a selector to select like tier 1 languages and tier 2 languages and different big categories for different formats. And also, we have built 2 demo apps in the phones to let engineers to check out the formats easily. And also, we've built a Figma plugin and design handoff tool to make it easier for designers to construct the different formats, to select all the options they want, and also hand off to the engineers with the parameters they need. So this system is being used by most of the TikTok, most of the ByteDance apps like TikTok, Pico. Pico is the XR device, and also CapCut, the video editing tool, and Lemonade, another social platform we built, and also for TikTok Shop. This is the SDK in real case. So the first one is the likes and the comments, numbers of the interaction buttons, and also the profile page, and also in chat. So all these are already online. So next I will pass to Phil to describe why we built it.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So the things why we built it, I think there is some, maybe you guys are doing all the localization from the start, but for us, we come from a background where like when the ICU are not that mature at that time, and at that time when we want to build the app, we want to build it fast. So we didn't care too much about localization from the start, and later on, we spent a lot of energy to support it. Here, like you can see, but throughout the years, we are refactoring the app and pushing all those localization libraries for every value chain. What we call value chain is kind of like department, and we push all the value chain to use our solution. And as you can see here, there are many parts of the app are using it. Like one big part is this feed area, like tool area, where likes and comments, you can see all the numbers. They are all localized. Another part is about the profile page. You have all the likes, the followers and followees, and those parts also have a lot of like usage of our product. And eventually for instant messaging part, we also use that a lot. So, not every part of the app are using our solution because, as I said, like we have come with a history that doesn't have support for localization from the start, and we're pushing it forward. Yeah, it's a long process, especially when the boat is moving. It's very hard to replace the parts of the boat. And oops, sorry. Oh. Okay, so actually there are multiple cross-platform. So from the start, we are kind of trying to use a native solution. For iOS, we try to use the NS locale and date formatter and all those solutions. And but the problem is that from the start, Apple, like for iOS, they don't expose internally. They use ICU, but they didn't expose the interface for ICU. So we have to like write a very random code. And once I can see in a code that there are lots of if-else statement for if language we support at the beginning, which is a small number, a lot of if-else just to get some of these numbers right, or the display right for specific languages. And the same thing happens in here, but Android story is much better because Android, we have native support for ICU4J, and we use it. But the unfortunate story is that there are multiple versions of ICUs we're using here, and which is not good. And for web, it's even worse. And we have using Moment.js, Date.js, Date FNS, and also like Intel. And also for each one of those, you can multiply the framework we have. Like we have a links framework. And I don't know if everybody knows it. Basically, it's a cross-platform solution. You write JS, TypeScript, and it will be compiled into native language and going to be displayed. And we have a multiple like front-end solutions. And for all those front solutions, you multiply all those like libraries you use. It's a mess. And for server part, it's also a bad story. And many different things. And then the reason, that's a big thing that Zhongjun push this forward and come along with the solutions and try to unify every product to use the solution. And the things that at the start, when we are trying to, we didn't directly using the ICU solution from the start. And like I said, coming from a history point of view, at that time, we need to have support multiple time-limited features. For example, for the today part, like for different languages, we want to format it in this way, date and relative time, and also the AM, PM display. And for different languages, you have a different display. And another part is about the tool side part, the 2M. One thing about it is that when I come along, it's where I get into the world of localization. The thing is that I was supporting accessibility. Remember, I work in the field of accessibility. So there is a feature called voiceover. I don't know if anyone knows about it. It's just going to pronounce what's displayed on the screen. and read it out for disabled user. For example, if you are blind, and the screen reader basically will read it out. Does anybody of you knows what the screen reader will read 2M? Like if we just using this 2M, literally. Does anybody know how it's going to be read? Okay, I guess nobody knows. It will read out 2 meters. Okay, so that's not good, right? So here we definitely need localization for this. So yeah. Another thing is that that's the reason why we want to support it, use it and support it. Another part is about like e-commerce. For e-commerce, we need to kind of like have a different type for the type space for the numbers show, and making the unit part smaller. And previously we don't know that we don't have the ability to format it into parts. So, so it's a little bit hard for us to just highlight the numbers. And then for the studio part, there are multiple numbers that needs to be shown in different formats, like percentage, like those in format. So for that part, we also need to do some like tailor-made features. So that's the reason. Because all those reasons, consistency and tailor-made features, we want to create a solution of our own from start. So later on, you will see Frank talk about like the how we build it from the process. And here, so I give a very general talk about how we handle this. Basically, what we do is that we have a localization database. We create it ourselves, and then we format it into a JSON format. And then for the JSON format, it will be used by the front end directly. It will minify it and compile a little bit and use it directly by the front end. And then what we do is that we'll use CodeGen, some kind of like template engine, and run through the JSON file and generate C struct. That C struct will be compiled, will be packed into SDK, and the SDK will be linked to different apps. And why we do this is that what we find out that can help to save a lot of binary size, because if you directly use JSON or XML, this will kind of like pretty big. And if we do this way, we will have like a size reduction about like 86.5%, which is pretty large. Yeah. And cool. And then besides of the technical part, like getting this into the app, we also have a pipeline to make sure that everything looks right in the app, because that's very essential to ensure a very good user experience. And to ensure that we write up a lot of unit tests, that's for sure. And what is unique is that we have a dynamic diagnosis engines. This part is basically what we did for both Android and iOS. Maybe iOS is still development, but for Android, for now, what we have is that we have a system that can, internally when you run the app, it will have some of the hook point, like when a view gets showed, or when the view gets refreshed, hidden engine will be run. It will scan through all the elements in the app, and when it scans, it will use the rules we define and to identify the issues we have. For example, especially for locale-related stuff, like for the formatting, for cutoff, for all of those things. And then once it finds all the issues, it will pack it up and send it to our database, and we can have a list of issues that we can use to manage the quality of the app. So that's what we did for the quality assurance part. Automatically, definitely there are also like QA who will run their own test script to make sure that the good part, but it covers a very small amount. This covers about like 80% of our quality like test cases. And then another thing is that another reason kind of why we want to do our thing our own is that we find out when we are like doing our practice, like we find out like there are some issues with CLDR database. And for example, we did some corrections in our database. For example, for ARSA, we did like currency symbol update. When we are working with linguistic that familiar with the language, you find out this one is more natural and is more correct. So we use that. And for other things, we also do all those types of corrections. It's subtle, but it's ensure a very good user experience. And yeah, I think my part is done, and I'll leave to Frank to talk about our solutions.
All right, so if any of you guys have worked in industry, one of the main questions that a lot of people have to ask is, what is the development workflow? A lot of people talk about agile, or they talk about certain development methodologies. So here at TikTok, we have a special end-to-end localization solution that basically from start to finish aligns all the business needs and aligns all the, I guess, the behaviors of the different versions of our localization solution. As Phil mentioned earlier, we have a lot of platforms and a lot of different languages, and so it's really important to make sure that the SDK output is consistent throughout every single language. After all, that's the main reason why we made this SDK. Consistency above all. And so how exactly do we accomplish this at TikTok? All right, so the first part of this process is the request intake process. It starts off over here, here, with a request intake. So usually this comes from a business team, usually either from users, or maybe some linguist finds that there is an issue within the app, or maybe there is a new need for a feature or something. One of the most prominent examples that I can think of just happened maybe a few months ago with the Japan and the Korean locale. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with, if you guys have ever been to Japan. So the Japanese currency is the yen. And so the yen currency has this like Y symbol with these lines running through it. But in Japan, they don't actually use that symbol sometimes. They have their own like cash symbol, their own cash digit. Korean actually has this as well. And in CLDR, there's no representation for this, since CLDR is an internationalization solution designed to mostly translate everything. But our goal at TikTok is to localize and make the app feel local and feel like it is developed in the country itself. And so we want to make sure that all the displays and everything looks exactly as if a local was writing it. And so that would start here. So maybe here, for this example, an e-commerce team said, hey, one of our linguists says that there's kind of an issue with the currency display. It doesn't look too right. And that goes, so that's the first portion, is we take in requests from different business teams who maybe get them from users or maybe from someone else. The second portion is the feasibility eval. So this is where the localization team will go in and see if our existing SDK, maybe with a little bit of tweaks, or maybe if we can find a workaround. Since speed is paramount in a lot of these features, we want to get this localization fix done as fast as possible. So we'll see if our existing SDK can maybe support it with a little bit of changes, or maybe if the design can be changed to be a little more reasonable for our localization solution. If it's not feasible, then the process is over. Pretty self-explanatory. But if we decide that the feature is feasible and that we should support it, and this is something that we want to do moving forward, it will go through in board review. So the feasibility eval is mostly done with the localization team themselves, either linguists and the localization team, or some PMs and designers. The board review includes engineers, and so we'll slot this within our priority board, maybe see when we're going to create this feature, or maybe how high of a priority this is. Or maybe if this is something that we can be done. We'll discuss trade-offs, we'll discuss maybe performance downsides, or maybe complexity downsides. For example, some of the requirements that we've been, I guess, requested to do are a little bit too complex or a little bit out of scope for a localization solution. Stuff like complex rounding, or like even there was some teams that requested some long number, like math, some extra math like functionality, which is out of scope for a localization solution. And then from then on, we'll go into development. I'll go more into depth on the development cycle or the development process, since we do have something for that as well. But for this diagram alone, we'll just mark it as development. And then from then on, that's the end. But yeah, so how exactly does this start? or how exactly is this used? So as Phil mentioned earlier, we have a Phil or Zhongjun mentioned earlier, we have a Figma plugin that allows for designers to insert localized or translated digits and dates/times into their Figma designs. And the reason why this is so Oh, all right. Yeah, and so the reason why this is so important is that there are definitely some things that languages, there's some differences between languages that if you're not aware as a designer, you might design a component completely differently. So this is actually a component that I worked on relatively recently. This design is actually made by my colleague Ziyan, and she basically is designing this price component. And let's just say that you're only from the US and you've only seen like a dollar sign. You might not know that for other languages, they put the currency symbol on the other side. And so as a designer, you might not even think of this until you like look over a whole bunch of localized or translated currency formats to see, okay, how can this display support every single locale and every single currency possible? So here, with the power of the Figma plugin, she's designed not only currency symbols on the left, but also on the right. Some locales also have like weird spacings and stuff too, or even like a right to left symbol that kind of flips everything around. And so that's important when it comes to creating a UI components. Well, I guess in this example, a UI component that is localization friendly. Otherwise, you might end up hard coding some spacings, maybe hard coding how the component looks to where it's not actually possible to localize the components for other locales. And so on the left, we have the Figma page, and on the right, we have an example of it being used in a test environment. But yeah, and so the whole idea of this is that from start to finish, everyone is on the same page of what the localized formats look like, from the designers all the way to the developers and all the way to the users. Everyone uses the same and is able to see the same formats. Yeah, so another thing is, with a lot of existing open source localization solutions, one of their main approaches, and this is a very common approach and also a very understandable approach, is that they will take basically pieces of everything that you want to display and allow you to select what you want to display. So for example, time, as in like 3 o'clock, maybe time zone like GMT or like UTC, year, like 2003, date, specifically the date format that includes the month and the day, and then, or maybe the month specifically, or the day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So if you counted all that, that's like 6 different options. And so if you combine all that together, that's like 64 different combinations. On top of that, you have shortened and longer versions. So for example, up here we have like Monday, which is MON, but here we have like Tuesday. So like Monday can be written, a lot of languages have shortened and longer long-in formats for both day of the week and for months. Not every locale actually has this, so that's something you have to take into account. But a lot of locales actually have something like this. And so when you start adding up all these different combinations, it gets really hectic really quickly. And it's just simply not possible to provide a complete localization solution that looks perfectly right for every single locale and every single combination. A lot of existing open source solutions actually run into this issue, which is why we have to correct some of the CLDR like data to make it look a little more right to local users. So one of the ways that we trim formats is actually by eliminating pretty strange ones. So for example, you have like time and year. It would be kind of hard to think of a display on when you would want like a time next to just the year and literally nothing else. Same thing with a time zone in a year. These are, maybe there would be a world in which you would use something like this, but if there is a need for this, we have a request process and we can add it to the library. But for now, we have chosen not to support these types of things. Instead, we've focused on the more widely used and more valid formats. This is one way that we break down, I guess, lower the development cost of our library and are able to make it more, I guess, streamlined and more local. Since this way we're able to handcraft more formats. Otherwise, if we use simply generating all this stuff with a script, we end up with a lot of outputs that seem like right, but not really right. I'm sure if you've gone on if you've gone to like a website from another country, you might be like, and you turn on the English display or English translation, it might seem right, but not really right. I think this perfectly encapsulates the difference between internationalization/translation and localization. We want to make the displays seem local, as in this is something that someone in the country or someone who's really familiar with the language has designed. Yeah, and so another one of the ways that we align expectations with the linguists, the PMs, and the developers is through behavior-driven development. So this is a development methodology that is a little bit similar to Agile, where we basically take inputs or assertions or, I guess, expected behaviors from, I guess, our request intake process and turn that into test cases. And the reason why this is really important is because sometimes in a large company or maybe through the chain of the game of telephone, I guess the expected output can kind of get muddled up. And so we have our first solution for this involves Cucumber. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Cucumber, but basically it's a formatted plain text file that can be configured to generate test cases. And so I guess I'll go over the syntax of this. So for example, we have a description of a scenario outline, which is use BD number formatter in compact mode. I guess to explain this, BD stands for behavior driven, so our behavior driven number formatter in compact mode. Compact being 1.2 million shortened to 1.2 M for en-US locale. So that's English in the US, right? And so from here, we have some parameters. So when the default locale is locale, and we have described here the locale. When the number is inputs, so we have the inputs described here. And when the format notation is compact, and then we also have format notation long, which is also in this table here. So basically, the PMs will take in requirements from linguists or be like, hey, what is the most local way that this display would look like in this locale? They'll write test cases for that in this plain text format. Pretty simple, pretty easy. And from there, it'll get turned into test cases. Now, Android and iOS has their own test cases. I work on web, which is TypeScript/JavaScript. And so this is Jest. Basically, this will get turned into test cases. And we're able to more clearly assert that the localization solutions are working as intended. We have 100% certainty that for the examples given by the linguists and PMs that this matches. At first we used Cucumber, but as time has passed, it seems that large language models are very good at turning this plain text formats into test cases. And the reason why is that Cucumber files are very clearly formatted. There's a clear syntax to them. And because there's a clear output, since there's already a large number of test cases to begin with, it's able to quickly just parse that in and then spit out new test cases. And so we've actually transitioned from Cucumber to using a large language model. So the current one is we currently use Gemini. But overall, this is the current solution for our behavior-driven development, and it helps align the SDK expectations and outputs with what the PMs and the linguists want. All right, and so another part of this is the demo site itself. So once the test cases have all passed and we are certain that the SDK outputs the exact things that the linguist and that the localization team wants, we will release a new version of the SDK, update the demo site with it, and validate its changes. And so the reason why this is really important is that no matter how many test cases you decide to write, you cannot cover every single case. There's thousands of combinations. just to begin with, there's like, so you have every single locale with every single currency. Maybe you have some level of rounding, cache digits. Maybe you have like compact different forms like percents and per mil, and scientific notation as well. It's just not possible to cover every single format. And so from here, we have a easy-to-use demo site that the localization team can use to generate every single possibility or every single output that they want with the SDK. The most important feature here is highlighted by this purple arrow over here, and that's this copy button. It's a little bit hard to see because it's kind of fuzzy, but this is used to copy all of the data that is generated into a spreadsheet. And so this is really important since this will be handed off to our panel of linguists. We have a language lead for every single language that we support here at TikTok, and they will verify, unfortunately manually, that everything looks correct and that everything is basically checks out, that hey, this is something that looks right, this can be something that goes live. And so this is our overall development workflow for the localization SDK. Yeah, and so without much further to do, does anyone have any questions about what we do here at TikTok? Oh, yeah.
Please go through the microphones.
You mentioned something about how the Japanese have the like this guy, the currency symbol that's not the yen symbol but the other symbol, and that CLDR doesn't have that because CLDR internationalizes and doesn't localize. I would say CLDR also localizes. Have you talked with CLDR about adding this as a variant or something else? Because I think, I'm not a CLDR person, but I think they would.
Maybe Anna Marie.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, I believe we have an open ticket about this, and I think it's more a matter of somebody needs to contribute the.
Yeah, like a Japanese character at the end of the number. Yeah, behind the number that's called den, I think. Yen, yes.
Yeah. What I'm saying is, I believe we actually have a open ticket.
Yeah. So maybe we can find some manpower to get it fixed.
Yeah. It'd be lovely.
Yeah. We can look inside and see if we can support.
Yeah, the things that we have a very limited engineer resources, and we are likely to contribute, but the speed or the latency we contribute to CLDR may be too long for our internal movement.
Yeah.
Sorry for that.
But we can definitely help if we could.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess also on things like the currency symbol, there's also an ECMAScript issue open for that, by the way, in until datetime format. Yeah, I think that a lot of the issues that you raised, first of all, thanks for giving this presentation and sort of highlighting all these pain points. I think these are pain points that a lot of people in this room also share and feel. So it's really good to identify those. I think that a lot of these types of issues are the Unicode consortium exists in order to sort of provide a forum and a central place to work on these solutions, because for example, there might be some clients and customers who identify problems in certain languages in certain regions and others who identify them in other regions, and by having the CLDR database, right, we're able to collectively solve those problems together, so that all the customers can benefit from what all the research everyone else has been doing. I remember last year, for example, there was a talk from I think Netflix about time zone stuff, and then a lot of that ended up being upstreamed, and that's great. It's great to sort of do that, it's great to do work where you can see the impact of the work quickly, and then eventually, hopefully, get those changes into CLDR, because then it reduces the maintenance burden for everyone involved because
Yes.
like
Yeah.
it's very much a pain point. Like, you know, sure, these things are pain points, CLDR is slow and whatever, but also like it's a pain point to maintain patches and maintain these custom built libraries and solutions. And that's why, you know, a lot of the work that Unicode has been doing, you know, also in ICU4X, for example, I gave a talk on that yesterday.
Yeah, yeah.
Sort of been, you know, focused on, you know, how can we sort of solve these types of pain points. So, yeah, just a general comment that I think there's, you know, I look forward to, you know, working more and seeing if there's ways that we can improve the Unicode solutions and work on, you know, open sourcing a lot of these things.
Yeah, I think I can comment on a little bit. After listening to your talk yesterday, we want to experiment like using like ICU4X internally for our solution and the transition to it. But just because we have a limited engineer power, sorry for that. Like everybody was under a crunch. Like sorry.
I can push again maybe
Yeah.
later internally and see if we can share our what we found and all the improvements to CLDR to make it better.
Yeah, in the long run, I want to set up a process internally, kind of expose some of these error fixes or findings to the public or to CLDR, but it needs time for us to build the pipeline to migrate those changes up, like surface it up to the public. Yeah.
All right, so thank you for a great presentation. I just have a question, just curious on some of the processes. So I saw in the Figma where the designer kind of comes back. Was it too loud? Okay. Yeah, I saw that, the Figma, the designer comes back and you are able to provide localized content back. So does that happen before the development where the content is localized and they get the design back so that they can test it? And then on the right side, I see that the application, is this on? But on the right side, I see the application. So is that post-development where folks come in and test it? And is that like a separate QA process, or is that part of the design, the whole design system?
So this is part of the whole design system, and so I guess this is a little bit. I guess this was a little bit confusing on my end, so I'll clarify this. So this portion that we talk about API design as well as behavior-driven development is more on the development of the SDK itself. But for the Figma plugin, this is more for development with other components. So this is post, I guess. So the first process is more on maintaining the SDK, and this is more on using how this SDK fits in with our overall development workflow. So this actually is this is Tux, which is TikTok UI UX, and so this is a UI component library. And so the workflow for designers is they'll first use the Figma plugin that was shown here, and basically they'll be able to generate a whole bunch of outputs for either dates, times, currencies, or numbers, and they'll be able to put them into their Figma page. Once the Figma page is created, then from there on out, the expectation of how the component looks like, as well as how the component can be designed, is already made. And so the reason why I mentioned this before is I was just saying that maybe if we did not have a localization solution like this or a Figma plugin like this, the designers wouldn't be able to have the context to design a price component that has like maybe the currency symbol on the left, but also maybe the currency symbol on the right.
Yeah, I think that is the demo mode in Figma, not post development.
Isn't that, yeah?
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right, thank you.
And of course, we have built an automatic QA system that using computer use or phone use mechanism to run the different pages in different languages. And we have also integrated the SDK data to the system so that any formatting inconsistencies can be detected and highlighted.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I'm Lydia Wang from Blog. So you showed the process from when a localization bug is found to when it's fixed. Usually, how long does it take for a cycle?
That depends
Yeah,
on
Priorities.
features and teams.
Yeah, it depends on priorities.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
For fast things, we can fix it in a week, like in next release. But for longer ones, it can be delayed in terms of
like
months.
forever.
A quarter,
Forever. Oh, forever.
quarter to or indefinitely is also, it's not out of the question.
Yeah, because it's a
unfortunately.
business decision for them to
Yeah.
update the design or the development code.
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah.
I ask because a lot of times, like similar situation, the bugs are found, but they never get fixed, and actually a large amount of bugs are not fixed. What would you recommend as like a secret sauce to help,
Like from time to time, teams might do a refactor or redesign of pages. Every time we know this, we will reach out and tell if you can use the SDK to make things more consistent. And this seems to be the best timing for us to chime in.
Another thing is that maybe we have a list of all the issues. Maybe one day AI is clever enough.
Yeah,
And use it
so
to fix it.
we can fix
Yeah.
it using AI, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. I think we're done here.
Oh, wait, no, I think there's a couple more.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, he can go first.
Hi, I'm Luis. I'm from Meta. We face very similar problems there. And I was wondering, what do you consider when you're doing formatting like this, especially for currency formatting? Because I noticed that locales are only 2 letters, but it depends on the country. And then you also have like regional settings on the phone users, but there are content that generate on the server, there are content that generate on the client side, so there is a problem of consistency. I was wondering like how you balance all these, like the regional settings, the country, the locale.
I think for currency, we basically refer to the country first. So we defined a certain like the dominant currency in a certain country. Then we use that. And for payments solutions, maybe even if you operate in different countries, maybe the payment currency might be the same, like US dollar. So that is also the case for TikTok. So we don't open endless currencies. So yeah, for each feature.
I can chime in for the cross-platform things. Like I said, we're using the same library to the end. Like we package things in SDK, and every platform going to be using the same SDK under the hood.
Yeah, if the package is too big, we also implemented some of the components data in our CDN network, so that we can.
Yeah, I guess to clarify more on what they're saying. So part of the reason why we designed the SDK is to make sure that all the formats look consistent across the board in different parts of TikTok. And so from the very beginning, the config files that are used by every single version are identical. And so this allows us to basically have identical inputs for identical outputs for every single version of the library. And so I guess this is our solution for how we unify everything here.
And my question is, just because whenever somebody gives a wonderful talk about this topic, I'm always curious if you can speak to how you measure and talk about and tie your work towards the larger company's business outcomes, right? Because I feel like it's very easy to say, we translated, more people can use it. And
Yeah, for example, for the pages we showcased here, all these changes were made after A/B tests. So that means these changes make positive impact to the business and to the metrics. Yeah.
okay.
So you sometimes have to deliberately show the data, deliberately create A/B test, and then show your leadership. Oh, our work actually have a money impact, for the company, and then know your value. Otherwise, sometimes they will just cut off the resources even more.
Yes.
Yeah.